We live in a world where relationships are often reduced to strategies and formulas. How to keep someone interested. How to make them stay. How to make them come back. There's an entire industry built around these ideas, feeding on people's insecurities and the need for control in human connection. But the truth? Relationships don't work like a game of chess where every move is calculated for maximum effect. They are fluid, unpredictable, and deeply personal. And one of the biggest myths circulating in dating advice today is this: men always come back to women who do certain things after intimacy. But is that really true? Do men always return just because of a woman's demeanor, her sense of mystery, or the way she handles herself after sex? The reality is much more complex than that. If a man comes back, it's not necessarily about what a woman did or didn't do, it's about who he is, where he is in life, and what kind of connection was formed in the first place. Think of relationships like rivers rather than highways. Highways are mapped, planned, and structured, leading to a predetermined destination, straightforward, efficient, predictable. But rivers? They are wild, uncontained, and ever-changing. They twist through mountains, carve new paths through valleys, sometimes calm, sometimes raging. No two rivers are identical, just as no two relationships are exactly the same. You might set off in a relationship expecting it to follow a clear route, like a highway with signs pointing the way. But more often than not, it behaves like a river, shifting, flowing, sometimes even redirecting in ways you never expected. This is why trying to control love with rigid formulas often leads to disappointment. Relationships are not equations where X, action, leads to Y, result. They are stories, written moment by moment, shaped by emotions, experiences, and the ever-changing nature of human connection. Picture a couple standing by a riverbank. One is impatient, frustrated that the river is not flowing in a straight, predictable line. The other watches the water move, understanding that its beauty lies in its unpredictability. The difference between the two? One fights against the natural flow, while the other embraces it. Love, like water, finds its own way. It cannot be forced into neat, artificial boundaries. The real question is, are you trying to build a dam? Or are you learning to navigate the current? Before we dive into the myths and truths about intimacy and attraction, let me invite you to explore a space where these conversations happen regularly. On this channel, we delve deep into human psychology, relationships, and the profound ways in which we connect with one another. If you find these ideas intriguing, make sure to stay until the end, where we'll discuss a surprising aspect of relationships that no one talks about, but which could change the way you see intimacy forever. Let's break down the common myths and uncover the real psychology of intimacy and human attraction. The myth of control. You can't make someone stay. There's a seductive idea that if you behave a certain way after intimacy, if you maintain a sense of mystery, if you avoid appearing too emotionally invested, if you don't seek validation, a man will feel compelled to come back. While there might be some psychological truth to the dynamics of desire, this perspective dangerously oversimplifies human connection. Relationships are not a formula, and human attraction is not a machine that reacts predictably to input. Think about it. If maintaining distance was the key to keeping someone interested, then why do so many people in long-term relationships stay deeply committed even when they see each other every day? If mystery was the sole ingredient of desire, why do some of the strongest connections come from those who are completely open and vulnerable with each other? The problem with oversimplified dating advice is that it assumes attraction is about scarcity rather than connection. The truth is, you cannot manipulate someone into staying. If a man values you, he will stay because he wants to, not because he's being drawn in by some emotional game. If he leaves, it's often because he was never fully invested in the first place. No amount of creating space or projecting confidence will change that fundamental reality. People come back to relationships where they feel seen, understood, and emotionally connected, not because someone played their cards just right. Let's put it in real-world terms. Imagine a woman who naturally radiates confidence, not because she's following a set of rules but because she genuinely values herself. She enjoys deep conversations, she laughs freely, and she expresses her needs without fear. Another woman, on the other hand, meticulously follows, Strategies: after intimacy, deliberately taking hours to respond to messages. Carefully crafting an air of mystery, and suppressing any display of affection out of fear that it might push the man away. Who do you think will have a more fulfilling, authentic connection in the long run? Now, imagine a plant desperately trying to force the sun to shine on it. It angles its leaves, leans toward the warmth, stretches higher and higher, believing that if it just reaches far enough, the sun will notice and reward it. But the sun moves according to its own cycle, unaffected, unconcerned with the plant's efforts. This is how relationships often feel when one person is trying too hard to control the outcome. No matter what tactics are used, genuine attraction and connection cannot be forced. Similarly, relationships flourish when they are given the right environment, one of mutual respect, emotional depth, and authenticity. Think of two people sitting on a park bench. One keeps glancing at their phone, distracted and disengaged. The other is fully present, eyes meeting theirs, truly listening, responding with warmth and curiosity. The difference is clear. Connection is not about what you strategically withhold or offer. It's about how deeply you engage with another person in an authentic way. Instead of chasing tactics, the key is to cultivate relationships that feel nourishing rather than performative, where both people are drawn together naturally rather than manipulated into staying. Love is not a chess game, it's a garden. It grows with care, attention, and time, not through calculated moves and artificial scarcity. When love feels effortless, the power of mutual attraction. One of the greatest misconceptions about relationships is that they require effort in the form of strategies and psychological maneuvers. But true love, the kind that lasts, does not feel like an uphill battle. It flows with ease, much like two streams merging into one. This does not mean that relationships do not require work. They do, but the work is not about trying to keep someone, it's about showing up, being present, and nurturing the connection in a way that both people feel fulfilled. The best relationships do not leave you second-guessing your every move or walking on eggshells in fear of losing the other person. They provide a deep sense of comfort, security, and excitement all at once. Think of it this way. Imagine you are holding a bird in your hands. If you grip it too tightly, it will struggle and eventually suffocate. If you keep your hands open, allowing it to perch freely, it will stay as long as it feels safe and cared for. Love is the same. The tighter you hold on, the more likely it is to slip away. The healthiest relationships thrive not because one person played their cards right, but because both individuals willingly choose each other every day. Not because they need to, but because they want to. And that is the difference between love that lasts and love that fades. If you've ever wondered why some relationships feel effortless while others feel like an emotional roller coaster, stay tuned, because in the next part, we'll explore the deeper psychological patterns that make or break a connection. And trust me, you won't want to miss it. Understanding emotional patterns in love. Love is not just about chemistry or compatibility. It's deeply woven into the emotional patterns we have unconsciously adopted throughout our lives. These patterns are the invisible forces steering our relationships, determining how we seek connection, how we handle intimacy, and whether love blossoms or slowly withers away. Imagine love as a song you've been listening to since childhood. Some people grew up with melodies of security and warmth, while others internalized rhythms of unpredictability or longing. And whether we realize it or not, we often find ourselves drawn to the same kind of music we've always known. Some people chase passion that burns bright but fades quickly, while others cling to stability, fearing any disruption. To truly understand why some relationships thrive while others unravel, we need to go beyond surface-level attraction and look into the deeper, often unseen emotional imprints we carry. These emotional patterns are not set in stone, but they do shape our love lives in profound ways. The good news? With awareness and conscious effort, we can rewrite our love stories, transforming these patterns into something that nurtures rather than limits us. The blueprint of love. How attachment styles shape relationships. From the moment we are born, we begin forming an emotional blueprint for love. This blueprint, also known as attachment style, comes from our early interactions with caregivers. Were we nurtured and emotionally supported? Or were we left to navigate emotions on our own? These early experiences set the foundation for how we connect with others in adulthood. Imagine a child reaching out for comfort. If the parent consistently responds with warmth and security, the child learns that love is safe and dependable. But if the parent is unpredictable, sometimes nurturing, sometimes distant, the child develops an anxious approach to love, constantly seeking reassurance. And if love was rarely available at all, the child may learn to rely only on themselves, developing an avoidant style that keeps others at arm's length. Fast forward to adulthood, and these same attachment styles influence how we behave in relationships. Secure attachment. People with secure attachment feel comfortable with intimacy and independence. They don't fear abandonment and can communicate their needs openly. Their relationships tend to be stable and fulfilling. Anxious attachment. Those with anxious attachment crave closeness but often fear rejection. They may overanalyze messages, seek constant reassurance, and struggle with emotional security. Avoidant attachment. Avoidant individuals resist too much closeness. They value independence to the point of pushing others away, fearing that intimacy will lead to loss of self. Fearful avoidant, disorganized attachment. This style is a mix of both anxious and avoidant tendencies, where a person desires connection but also deeply fears it. Think of attachment styles like different ways people swim in a pool of love. Some swim freely, trusting the water to hold them, secure. Others cling to the edge, afraid of sinking, anxious. Some refuse to get too deep, always staying near the shallow end, avoidant. And some jump in, panic, then scramble to get out, fearful avoidant. The role of past experiences. Love as a mirror. Have you ever noticed that we tend to repeat the same relationship patterns? Even when we swear we're choosing differently, that's because love acts as a mirror. It reflects back the unresolved emotional wounds we carry. We often seek out partners who subconsciously recreate our past experiences, not because we want to suffer, but because we are drawn to what feels familiar. For example, someone who grew up feeling emotionally neglected may unconsciously be attracted to distant or unavailable partners. Not because they enjoy the pain, but because their nervous system equates love with the challenge of earning affection. Likewise, someone who experienced chaotic, unpredictable relationships as a child may feel most at home in passionate, high-drama relationships as an adult. Picture love as a dance. If you've learned to waltz but suddenly find yourself in a tango, you might struggle to keep up or feel out of sync. Similarly, if your emotional blueprint was shaped by instability, then stability in love might feel unfamiliar, even boring, until you learn to recognize it as true security rather than lack of excitement. The power of self-awareness. Rewriting your love story. The good news? These patterns are not set in stone. While our emotional blueprint influences us, it does not define us. The key to breaking free from unhealthy cycles is self-awareness. When we recognize our patterns, we gain the power to rewrite our love story. 1. Identify your triggers. Pay attention to what makes you anxious, avoidant, or reactive in relationships. Is it a delayed text? A partner needing space? A fear of not being enough? These triggers reveal where your emotional wounds lie. 2. Challenge old beliefs. If you believe, love must be hard to be real, or people always leave, question where those beliefs come from. Are they based on past experiences rather than present reality? 3. Practice emotional regulation. Instead of reacting impulsively, learn to sit with emotions. Breathe through discomfort. Ask yourself, am I responding to what's happening now? Or am I reacting to an old wound? 4. Communicate with clarity. If you have anxious tendencies, express your needs without panic. If you have avoidant tendencies, challenge yourself to be emotionally available even when it feels uncomfortable. 5. Choose relationships that support growth. Surround yourself with people who encourage emotional security rather than trigger old fears. Healthy love feels safe, expansive, and reciprocal, not like an emotional roller coaster. Imagine standing at a crossroads. One path leads to repeating the same painful patterns, the other toward healing and healthier love. The choice is always yours. Love is a daily practice, cultivating emotional maturity. At its core, love is not just something that happens to us, it's something we cultivate every day through our actions, our mindset, and our willingness to grow. Emotional maturity in relationships is not about avoiding conflict, never feeling insecure, or having perfect communication all the time. It's about how we respond to challenges when they arise. A mature approach to love looks like taking responsibility. Instead of blaming partners for how they make us feel, we recognize that our emotions come from within. Giving space without fear. Understanding that a partner's need for independence is not a rejection of us. Choosing growth over comfort. Realizing that true love sometimes means confronting uncomfortable truths and evolving together. Loving without possession. Embracing the fact that love is not about owning someone, but about sharing a journey where both people thrive. Imagine a garden. If you plant seeds but never water them, they won't grow. If you overwater, they'll drown. If you expect instant flowers, you'll be disappointed. Love, like a garden, requires patience, balance, and trust in the process. The final takeaway: emotional patterns can change, and so can you. The most important thing to remember is this: no matter what emotional patterns you've inherited or developed, you are not stuck. You have the power to change how you show up in love, how you respond to intimacy, and what kind of relationships you allow into your life. If you've spent years chasing unavailable partners, you can learn to choose consistency. If you've struggled with trust, you can heal and open your heart again. If love has always felt like a battlefield, you can rewrite the narrative into one of peace and connection. Love is not about winning or keeping someone. It's about showing up as your truest self and finding someone who cherishes that person. The most fulfilling relationships are not built on strategy, but on mutual respect, shared growth, and the ability to love wholeheartedly. And that, at the end of the day, is what makes love truly worth it. To truly understand why some relationships last and others fall apart, we need to examine the emotional patterns that shape how we connect with others. In the next section, we'll explore the psychology behind attachment styles, the impact of past experiences, and how self-awareness plays a crucial role in fostering deep, lasting relationships. If you're finding value in these insights, don't forget to check out Practical Philosophy, our channel where we dive deep into human connection, personal growth, and the wisdom that shapes our lives. And this is just the beginning. In our upcoming videos, we'll be discussing how self-worth impacts the relationships we attract, the hidden psychological triggers that influence love and attraction, how to break free from toxic relationship cycles and build something meaningful. Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned, because the next lesson might just change the way you see love forever.